Why do people care more about an animal dying than a human dying? My personal opinion is that it's to do with protecting and advocating for something or someone that cannot do it themselves. Maybe in the same way people feel differently about seeing a child abused as opposed to an adult. Though both are terrible, the child will nearly always be seen as the more vulnerable. My pets rely on me for everything. It's my responsibility to keep them fit and healthy. They cannot advocate for themselves even slightly. There is very little in place in society, comparatively to people, to protect them, so it falls to me to make sure they have a good life. I guess that makes me very protective of them. I love people too, but animals are a form of companionship that is relatively uncomplicated and completely unconditional. Besides that, how you treat things you consider lesser than yourself is often a big indicator of what kind of person you are. As for not having an interest in pets, that's absolutely fine. We are all individuals. As long as you aren't harming or neglecting a living creature with apathy, no one should be telling you otherwise. It is kind of simple. Those of us who seem to care more for the well-being of an animal are the ones who recognize that those animals are often totally dependent on human support for their lives and well-being. Animals can't go to work and earn a living, nor can they reason out how to take care of themselves when all the cards are stacked against them. If the people who breed them do not provide, then they are doomed. People support each other when the need arises, and we have social systems in place to rescue each other, and we have a chance at building lives. The pets do not. To add another perspective, I'm cried over my dog dying, but not when one of my distant relatives died. It's simply because I have an emotional connection with the dog, but not with a stranger that I'm tangentially related. I have noticed this. I don't have an answer, but here are a couple of the responses I have heard from people on each side of that spectrum. Animals are less evolved and therefore not deserving of respect. Interestingly, these people seem to lack empathy for fellow humans as well, which leads me to believe it is a deep-seated psychological issue. Or, humans can care for themselves better than helpless animals, so we have a responsibility to care for them. I would argue that is not really true, since many people all over the world are pretty helpless. My opinion is you should care for all our fellow creatures on this tiny blue dot we call home. If we don't care about something's life, then we should look inside and ask why not. Perhaps because animals are more helpless compared to a human. Could that be a reason? We think animals are like pets since that's the only exposure to animals we really get. That means humans are just regular humans, more or less free to be themselves, while animals, pets, are these adorable products purposefully bred to make humans happy. For me, it's because none of the animals I have ever had or encountered meant me harm intentionally. My dogs have been there through some really tough days when others couldn't or wouldn't be. They would come and sit with me, lick the tears from my face, or just snoof me until I had no choice but to feel better. They're more forgiving, more giving, and more compassionate than most humans I know. What I see is what I get. My dogs are without fail always super excited to see me. Wetker, I was gone for hours or just went outside for a min to get the mail. I sometimes feel now that I am responsible for 4 living, breathing creatures who doesn't give a shit what mood I'm in. I love HPW. I noticeably feel better when I pet an animal. If the situation arises, I would never pick an animal life over a human's. I see AMT help though that I empathize more with the suffering and deaths of animals. It always feels intensely personal. Humans are for the most part responsible for the suffering of other humans and animals. For me, it's a bit the lack of the ability to rationalize on the animal's part. Of course, a dog won't understand why I hit him, won't understand why he's left on the side of the road, They don't know why they die, and it's sad. I could think of several reasons. It may be because they see animals as helpless while humans have capabilities to take care of themselves. Another reason may be they simply like animals so much more than humans. More likely for people who may have been outcasts or detached socially. It could also be because some people have seen so much violence done to animals by humans. They may have thought that animals deserve to live longer than some people. It's okay to not be interested in pets as long as one do not hate them to the point of violence or ignorance. It is not a matter of caring more. It is more about being sensitive to innocence and helplessness. How upset would you be if you saw a guy punch a guy? How upset would you be if you saw a guy punch an infant? Why do you care more about the infant than the man? You don't. But you do have a distinct loving, protective empathy toward that baby in that moment. Animals, like babies, are the ultimate in innocence. But animals have the whole unconditional love and trust thing going on too. And it's not something they outgrow. Veterinarian here who deals with animal loss grief on a daily basis. Surely the dependence and innocence of an animal play a large role. The fact that their humans need to actively decide to euthanize their pet adds hugely to that. A potentially uncomfortable angle that hasn't been discussed yet though is that companion animals play a very large role in our lives right now. Modern society right now, not COVID specific right now. For many people those animals fill the best friend, partner, or even child role. As such, losing that pet is emotionally akin to losing the person who would be in that role. Along the same thought process, it is less complex to grieve the loss of an innocent and deeply loyal pet than it is to grieve the loss of a complex, flawed, and at least occasionally hurtful human with whom we were close. Touching on the abuse perspective, I truly think that we are exposed to so much horror in the world that we are both paralyzed and desensitized. At least with animals we feel like we can do something more easily. I am not going to end the horrifying human rights violations in this world, but I can fairly easily go vegan. Do they? Most people eat animals every day. If I ate a chicken, no one would give a shit. If I ate a human, everyone would lose their mind. It's very much a cultural thing. Some cultures care more about animals than others. I'm a Sephardic Jew living in France and my interest in pet is almost non-existent compared to my French friends. Like I would never harm an animal, but I also don't really care about animals being harmed. Unless it's actual intentional cruel torture. Like if I hear about a cat being accidentally ran over by a car, I'm just like, oh shame, and move on with my life. I think it's because 1. We infantilize animals. 2. Animals don't have malice because their thinking is based strictly on survival. And 3. We judge human flaws more critically than animal flaws because we have a higher intelligence and are expected to act better. Personally, it always scares me when people value animals over humans because it feels like these same people would let me fall off of a cliff over something stupid I did years ago if it meant saving a dog from doing the same. Truthfully, they don't. It seems like this when you consider emotional responses to animal abuse and child abuse. But 90% plus of the human population actively contributes to factory farming. I cannot believe that anyone who knowingly and willingly contributes to that system cares about animals. I always thought it's because animals can't process and conceptualize and understand what is happening to them, whereas adult humans can. Seeing animals and children being abused produces a stronger reaction from people because we know that they don't know what's going on or why, just that they're in pain. There is a 92% chance I won't like the person, but a 100% I'll bro out with that dog. I assume because animals are always innocent, they just do what they do. They don't have motives or agendas. It's also why dead children are worse than dead adults. Children are usually innocent. They don't make decisions. Adults make them for them. I didn't even know this was a thing, and now I'm starting to think I'm surrounded by sociopaths that lack the ability to properly empathize with their own species. Yikes. I disagree. People put pets down as they get old. We don't let humans euthanize pretty much anywhere.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Ericast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.